Okay, let's just dive right into this. Welcome back, everyone. Today, we have a truly hilarious and nostalgic explainer lined up for you. We're digging into this incredibly funny personal account from a woman who goes by Yeah Girl Toniesha. She was recently reminiscing with her own 11-year-old daughter and kind of ended up completely cracking herself up over the wild, just totally unhinged adventures she had as a kid. We're talking family grievances, deeply inappropriate jokes, and, well, a little bit of light holy treason. Let's get right to it. So, quick question for you. How far would an 8-year-old go for a birthday bike? Seriously, think back to your own childhood. Maybe you did some extra chores, right? Or maybe you promised to be on your absolute best behavior for a whole month. But as we're about to see through Toniesha's story, a mischievous kid pushed to the brink will go to some absolute mind-boggling extremes for a toy. What kind of name? So, Toniesha kicks off her story by looking at her own daughter, who she named Princess Tiara. And why did she choose that? Because Toniesha wanted her kid to have this beautiful, super feminine name, something like Emily Rose or Liliana. But Toniesha's own name? She was named Toniesha James, directly after her dad, Tony James. And let me tell you, she harbored this furious, deep-seated childhood grudge against her mom for doing this. I mean, everyone already knew he was her dad, right? So to an 8-year-old, it was just logically absurd not to pick something way prettier. Part 2. Grandma Lillian's comedy clotho. Because Toniesha was always feuding with her mom over this whole name thing, she would constantly beg to go to her grandmother's house. Enter Grandma Lillian. She was Toniesha's dad's mom, and she totally validated Toniesha's feelings. She completely agreed that Toniesha should have had a prettier name, and the two of them bonded over playfully talking trash about Toniesha's parents. They quickly became thick as thieves. By the time Toniesha was 8, they developed this amazing routine. They would load up on snacks and pretend to be two little old ladies sitting on a park bench, just trading wild, completely inappropriate life stories to see who could make the other laugh harder. Let's look at one of their absolute favorite bits together, the magic bathroom. Grandma starts by telling a story about Toniesha's grandfather. In the joke, Grandpa goes to the doctor for a physical and passes with flying colors. The doc asks how he's doing mentally and spiritually, and Grandpa says he's doing great. He claims God knows his eyesight is failing, so God actually fixed it so that every time he gets up to use the bathroom in the middle of the night, the light magically turns on automatically, and when he's done, it turns right back off. Well, the doctor is amazed, right? So he later calls Grandma to verify this miraculous divine bathroom lighting. Grandma just lets out this massive sigh and yells, "Oh, for Pete's sake, he's peeing in the refrigerator again." Toniesha tells us that after that punchline, the two of them just roared with laughter, like two old pals at a diner. The comedic timing was literally impeccable. Okay, now it was Toniesha's turn to step up to the plate. And keep in mind here, she is 8 years old telling this joke. She sets the scene. She walks into a pharmacy, goes straight to the back counter, and pulls out a little brown bottle and a teaspoon. The pharmacist asks if he can help, and she just deadpans, "Can you case this for me?" The pharmacist, just humoring a kid, takes a tiny drop and instantly starts gagging, spitting it out all over the floor and coughing like crazy. When he finally catches his breath, she asks him if it tastes sweet. He angrily yells back, "Hell no!" And her response, "Oh, thank God. My doctor told me to get a pharmacist to test my urine for sugar." Toniesha says that they both practically spit out their tea over that one. It was so hilarious. But right after this, the tone kind of shifted. Grandma put her strict grandmother hat on and told Toniesha she really needed to start behaving better in school, stop fighting, and ease up on giving her mom such a hard time about her name. Toniesha knew Grandma could get her to do just about anything, so she agreed to behave for the rest of the year. But as any good negotiator does, she had one strict condition. Grandma had to tell one last, hilarious story. Grandma obliges, setting up a story about her brother spending the night with a woman. The brother notices a framed photo of a man on the nightstand. Panicking, he asks with frantic energy, "Is it your husband?" "No." "Your boyfriend?" "No." Finally, he asks, "Is it your dad or your brother?" The woman just laughs and says he's cute when he's jealous. Completely stressed out, the brother demands to know who the man in the photo actually is. And the woman whispers, "That's me," before the surgery. Toniesha recounts that she literally fell out of her seat and rolled around on the floor in absolute hysterics over this punchline. They were absolutely howling, completely lost in their own little world of wildly inappropriate jokes. Part 3. Banned from Grandma's house. Every good comedy show has to end, right? And usually it ends with Mom. They were laughing so hard they didn't even notice Toniesha's mom standing right there. Mom had entered the chat, and let me tell you, she was wearing the ultimate angry face. She had heard the entire story Grandma just told, and she was completely unamused. In fact, she boldly declared that this was highly inappropriate material for an 8-year-old child to be listening to, let alone laughing at. Grandma tried her best to defend Toniesha, saying she wasn't your average 8-year-old, but Mom just wasn't having any of it. This led to the dreaded car ride lecture. Mom fired off question after question. Why aren't you normal? Why don't you go play outside with the neighborhood kids? Why don't you join the church youth group? And then she dropped the hammer with the ultimate punishment. Toniesha was officially banned from Grandma's house for a while. Which brings us to part 4, the divine ransom. Separated from her favorite person in the entire world, Toniesha was desperate. So the very next evening, she marches right into the kitchen while her mom is cooking and demands a consolation prize. "Mom, I want a red bike for my birthday." Her mom, rightfully scoffing at this given Toniesha's terrible track record of behavior all year, essentially told her she didn't deserve one. In fact, her mom sarcastically told her to go upstairs and write a letter to God explaining why she deserved a bike. So Toniesha went to her room and actually started drafting her letter to God. Draft 1. She wrote she'd been a very good girl, but she knew that was a total lie, so she tore it up. Draft 2, she wrote she'd been pretty good. Ripped that one up too. By draft 3, she finally admitted she hadn't been good, but promised to be better. But even she knew that weak apology wasn't going to secure a brand new red bike. She trashed it. She was getting incredibly frustrated. And this right here is where the holy heist begins. By 5 p.m., she was completely fed up. At 5:15 p.m., she walked her 8-year-old self down the street to the local church. At 5:30 p.m., she looked around to make sure the coast was totally clear, and she stole a small statue of the Virgin Mary, slipping it right under her jacket. And by 5:45 p.m., she had run back home and locked the statue safely in her room. With her hostage secured, she finally knew exactly what to write. Her final letter read, "Dear God, I got your mama. If you want to see her again, send the bike. Signed, you know who." Just let the absolute absurdity of that sink in for a second. An 8-year-old kidnapping the Virgin Mary to hold God for ransom over a red bicycle. It is purely hilarious and utterly unhinged. Part 5. Nice doing business. Believe it or not, the secret kidnapping actually worked. Nobody ever found out she took the statue. When her birthday finally rolled around a few weeks later, the shiny red bike miraculously arrived. And true to her word as a tiny 8-year-old mob boss, Toniesha took excellent care of the hostage. And once the ransom was paid, she returned the statue to the church safe and sound. I honestly just love this detail so much. As she returned the statue, fully satisfied with her brand new red birthday bike, she looked up and offered a smug little prayer to God, simply saying, "Nice doing business with you." The sheer audacity of it. She had successfully executed a literal spiritual ransom drop. Ultimately, things worked out for everyone. Toniesha really did start behaving better at school and at home. And eventually, her mom allowed her to be reunited with Grandma Lillian, under the strict promise of no more inappropriate stories, of course. Toniesha ends her account with tears of laughter streaming down her face, sharing a deeply sweet tribute to the late Grandma Lillian, saying she'll always love her. It's just such a beautiful testament to the bond between generations, wrapped up in the most chaotic childhood story possible. So as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a quick question to ponder, inspired by Toniesha's legendary heist. If you had to write a ransom note to God as a kid, what toy would you be demanding? Let that sink in. It really makes you appreciate the wild, unimaginably creative lengths kids will go to. Thanks for joining me on this hilarious trip down memory lane, and keep exploring those fascinating stories.